And we are recording.
Woohoo! Not live.
Not live, but you know, it's the next best thing.
It is.
Everybody,
Kelly, not live.
everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking some time and watching this pre-recorded Taco Tuesday for a change. We're having some problems with Zoom, but that's okay. You know, I'm gonna boycott Zoom and pick it outside of their offices and stuff. But I don't think that'll solve anything. But you know, what are we gonna do? We have a really, really special guest here today. Me and Glenn are joined with Medicare Bob, Robert Beisch, the legendary Medicare
Bobby
Bob.
Beisch, as Galen said last week, which I love. Yeah. And again, I apologize, Robert, for mispronouncing your last name. You probably caught that over and over, but super excited to have you on. I think we need to start with a taco presentation. Christian, what did you get? I need to know. I need to see this.
Okay, so we had these weird tacos last week when we had Galen on, and they were good, but they weren't good enough. And so I didn't want to take any chances, so we went with old reliable with Cafe Rio today. So we have some shredded chicken tacos.
Ooh.
And they're so good.
Oh.
The office here loves Taco Tuesday because I buy for everybody.
Oh yeah. If you feed them, they will stay. It's amazing. So during AEP, I usually buy dinner right around 6:00, and that way it makes them stay to like 8:39. Not makes them; they want to stay, but it encourages them to stay.
So what are you adding into their food? You're drugging them to
Red
keep
Bull.
This thing?
Yeah, Adderall, Red Bull.
Adderall tacos during AEP, guys. That's the pro tip.
Yeah,
Bob himself.
I do not endorse. Cannot confirm nor deny such a request.
Roofing employees.
This started off exactly how I wanted it.
Glenn, what about you?
Got delayed, so I'm already like 3 margaritas in. So I don't know.
Well, what about tacos in? Where are the tacos? I know they're sad now.
So for those of you guys that are joining us, we had some issues going live. So I got impatient and ate my tacos.
They're gone.
But they were delicious. There's this place in Oldsmar called Shaker and Peel, and it's like American tacos. And when I think I'm older than you guys, so when you get older, you enjoy those tortillas now, Christian. So I get my tacos on lettuce. I drink my calories, so I try to cut the food out. Any chance I get, my carbs, I drink them, so I try not to eat them.
Smart.
But I got some tacos. I think I showed you guys when we were trying to go live. I got my Taco Tuesday bathing suit on. So after this, I'll be plugging in the pool for a little margarita and taco action. How about you, Glenn? Where's your tacos?
Here's my tacos. So I was telling my wife, I was like, I've been doing a lot of Taco Bell lately. And I was like, yeah, I can go get us all tacos. It's Tuesday. And she's like, you're doing another one of those videos? I was like, yeah, I am. And then she actually made me tacos. Wow. Homemade tacos. Look at that.
He's the real MVP.
Yeah. It's like I'm competing with Tony Merwin here. And I feel like Tony's like Beetlejuice. So I feel like if I say Tony Merwin 3 times, he'll appear on this video.
Show up.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you bring up Taco Bell because my wife's a very healthy eater, and she's a non-dairy vegan, and my oldest son's a vegetarian. And so you bring up Taco Bell.
Yes.
So I've been with my wife since high school, and we used to go to Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell. Well done, by the way. You got to.
Thank you. Yeah, a little zest magic. And
speaking of Taco Bell, I think my wife would rather find out I have a girlfriend than if I eat at Taco Bell. I am on the couch. It doesn't matter how much money I make. It doesn't matter anything.
You're done.
If I do go to Taco Bell, it's almost like I've obviously never had an affair, but if I did, it'd be like that where you got to like change your clothes, put cologne on. Like if I go to Taco
take a
Bell,
shower,
I'm putting a trash can, taking some trash out, putting the trash from Taco Bell in the bottom of the can, and then putting the other trash there, and I'm spraying myself full of cologne. So, but I do love Taco Bell. I try to go there like once a month. My biggest issue with Taco Bell, it's almost like a bar. Like when I walk up to a bar and they're like, what can I get you? And it takes me like 10 minutes to like freeze. So I'm like, I want all of it. So like, where do I start? It's the same thing.
I'll have one of everything.
I love the Mexican pizza. I love the Crunchwrap Supreme. The quesadilla, the sauce on the chicken quesadilla, fire.
Have you ever had?
Hang on. How much are you getting paid right now to plug
Taco
these
Bell?
items? Yeah, I need to know.
Okay.
Through the menu.
It's because it's basically food porn for me.
It's forbidden.
I don't get
Really
to
forbidden fruit.
Okay. Have you ever had the breakfast though? Have you ever had the breakfast?
I have not.
I have not.
So I had a time about a year ago.
Uh-oh.
I would get it literally almost every single morning, like 7 days a week, the Crunch Wraps. And I saw myself go from because I'm not a big dude, but I saw myself go from 135 to 150 in 6 months, which is a lot for me, weight increase for me. And I was like, what's the common denominator here? I'm like, oh, it's these Crunch Wraps that have 2,000 calories in each one.
Yep.
Oh, but they're so good.
Oh my gosh.
I can keep going, but I'll move on. But yeah, so your so Glenn, I would say, well, my tacos are gone, but you definitely, your tacos look great. And Christian, your taco looks extra nice and sloppy Mexican, and that looks delicious. So
very sloppy.
You guys both did well.
I'm a green sauce guy for sure.
Are you?
Red, okay. Yeah. Are you red?
I'm a sauce guy in general, so I'm a dipper. So yeah, I like green sauce on shredded beef, but I like the red sauce on chicken pretty much.
Nice. Yeah, there's a place for both. I totally agree with that. So you guys, I do want to transition into some insurance topics here. I could probably spend the next hour just talking about tacos with these guys, especially since Medicare Bob has literally the entire Taco Bell list memorized, as we just found out. But one thing, and by the way, do you prefer to go by Robert or Bob? Do you care? Do you have a preference?
Bobby's great. Yeah.
Bobby?
Galen calls me
Bobby. Awesome. So, Bobby was talking to me on Facebook and he was like, what should we talk about? And I was like, there's so much we could talk about, but one thing in particular I wanted to make sure we did cover is branding, because his brand, which he's literally got behind him, which I think is awesome, Medicare Bob, I think it is just killer. I really do. And I think seniors want a face and a name. And so the fact that you've been able to kind of scale behind this brand is something that I think is elusive for so many agents and agencies out there. So I'd love for you to take a second and kind of start at the beginning. Where did this brand idea come from?
Yeah, so it kind of started off as a joke. So what happened is when I first, so for those of you, I did an interview with Christian a couple months ago. I worked at a really large call center, Transact, which really was great to me, and they're a great company. I still have some partnerships with them. And but while I was there for 3 years, I was their top producer, and then I opened up my own shop. And one of my best friends who was unemployed, I scooped up, and I was like, dude, you do all the admin and let me sell. So he's there doing all the admin. It's me and him out of his apartment, and I'm selling. And a couple times I would call, and clients would say, Bob, I just signed up with you 10 minutes ago. I would talk to him, have a scheduled call back, and call them. And I was like, no, that wasn't me. But people would literally say they were me, and say, oh yeah, we talked last week. I'm here to sign you up or whatever. And so I was like, man, how, that sucks. You have a scheduled call back and someone scoops it up and takes it. I guess all is fair in insurance sales and war, but so I did that. And then, so I finally started having them. So that was happening, and my buddy was seeing that happen. And then we were growing, and he kept telling me, he's like, man, it sucks that you can only sell to one person. He's like, we got to get you selling to more than one person. And so this was kind of before YouTube was really big. I think one of my good friends, Chris Westfall, was one of the only ones on YouTube. And he was more on YouTube, I think at the time, teaching agents how to sell over the phone. I don't know if he had his security senior, the one that he does to consumers. I'm not sure if he had that yet. He might have. But I just, so my buddy would just hold up an iPhone, and if you see some of my early videos, they're horrible and awful. And but it's just him holding an iPhone, shaking, and me doing my pitch. And we put it on YouTube.
There you
go. Exactly.
That's
Before you had those sticks that would make you look good that you hold.
Yeah.
But so So in combination with that, and then, so I started, one of my customers said, they should call you Medicare Bob. So one of my customers kind of came up with it because he's like, you make Medicare so easy. And so my buddy was like, yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to call yourself, Medicare Bob. But even in like my first videos, I don't bring up Medicare Bob. I didn't really have a brand. I was just Robert Beige, and I can help you with Medicare. But like, there's so many Robert Beige, like there's so many Roberts, Fox, Beige, Shays, like there's so many senior healthcare directs, like, so we just kind of started branding the videos with Medicare Bob. And even on the phones, when I would call, I'd say, write down Medicare Bob, and that's me. And if somebody else calls you, tell them you're working with me. And then it was kind of interesting because then I started putting out these videos with Medicare Bob, and my wife just kind of thought it was funny. She, we've been together since high school, so we're best friends as much as anything else. So she definitely made fun of me about it.
That's what wives are for.
Yeah. So, it's her job to keep me humble, and she's good at it. So so we, just kind of became Medicare Bob. And then I kind of came in a situation where, I had a branding issue because are we Senior Healthcare Direct or are we Medicare Bob? So then it was like, we kind of came up with like, well, it's Senior Healthcare Direct, Medicare Bob's office. And so that's kind of been like the brand. So like, even the other thing I found out is when you hire LOA agents, a lot of them lack confidence. Confidence to ask for the close, confidence to get the deal done.
Right.
So what I found is when I first hire agents, like, they lean on Medicare Bob as the expert. So they're like, yeah, like some of my new agents will say, yeah, Bob recommends Plan G. He's done all the market research. I recommend it too. Like until they get to kind of becoming their own,
right.
And then as they've been there a few months, they go from Bob recommended Plan G to we recommend Plan G or whatever. But so it really worked out, with that. And then I started going to these top producer conferences, and we were in Banff a couple of years ago with Cigna, and my wife and I were on a hike with some agents that are from Washington, and like local agents. I don't know who they are. And it was funny because we were hiking and they were talking about how this telesales agent stole one of their customers. They're like, who's Medicare Bob? And my wife literally just looks at, oh, that's him. That's my husband.
There he is.
Their face, like,
that's the asshole right there.
Yeah, just go ghost, right? And so yeah, it's pretty cool, and then I have some really good friends in the industry, that kind of just call me that now, like, Jagger, who owns Medicare FAQ, and his partner David Haas, they all call me Medicare Bob. And you go to these trips and these stuff and kind of start off as a joke, and then it kind of just carried over. And it's been, now I'm kind of laugh all the way to the bank because it's worked out really well.
That's awesome.
So Bob, I have a question for you. And I was thinking about this. So I was thinking about this conversation we were going to have, the three of us, last night. I was like lying in bed, looking at my phone, just doing what I do.
That's adorable. Thinking about me lying in bed next to your wife.
You should have seen me. You should have seen. You should have seen me. You should have seen me, guys. I was in pajamas, PJs, and the whole 9 yards. But I was thinking about this, and I was really interested to kind of get your take on something. So probably, I think it's safe to say, probably 3-4 maybe ish years ago, the Facebook groups were not prominent like they are right now in the industry. There's so many Facebook groups now, and most of the groups have, 70% the same members. They all have the same members, but the Facebook groups are such a huge part of what we do now. Like 3 years ago, a regular agent couldn't have an interaction with a Medicare Bob or a Justin Brock on a thread or Galen Hendricks or whoever, it might be.
Christian Brindle.
I'm not on those guys. Not even close. Not even close. But I guess my question is, you've kind of seen this evolve, from the beginning. I think Justin was the first one to really kind of blow the doors open with it, with a Medicare group. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing for agents? Do you think they get too distracted on these threads, or what do you think about it?
That's a great question. And so I'm a big fan of, first of all, do, just do. I'm not a big planner, I think a business plan 3-4 years out is almost a joke because my business changed every 6 months,
Yep.
As far as how I get leads and all that stuff. And, yep. You got, again, people are going to troll and say Medicare Bob doesn't have a business plan. I have a plan. But it's just, it's, so I'm a big fan of agents doing activity to create sales, but at the same time, so what I'll compare it to is this: before there was the Facebook groups, the best way to get access to top producers was the carrier trips. And, I remember going on the carrier trips and being like, oh shit, man, that's Richard Cantu. I'm telling my wife, and she's like, okay, like, who's that? I'm like, he owns Go Meta Gap. Like, they're a big deal. Like, their website's awesome. And, they do a lot of production, and he was Mutual's top producer this year. And
great guy.
Plug for Richard Cantu. Like, so to your point, I wouldn't be where I'm at without him, without Galen, without Westfall, without, probably 7 or 8 other people that if I could name, and I met them all on these carrier trips. The Kunkles, Danielle and David, phenomenal. Okay. Is there a smarter person than Danielle Kunkel? Show me that person. Show me a better person in the insurance industry than Dan. She is amazing. She is smarter than me. She is great. She is amazing. And here I am. And like, now those people are my friends, and that's because I had access to them. If it wasn't for those top carrier trips, I wouldn't have had access. So taking that to your question with the groups, okay, now to your point, so Brock and I started a group a few months ago called Medicare Monsters. And, Brock was doing gurus for a while. And I was like, man, you're doing a lot of work for free. Like, that's just a lot of work. He's on there all the time. And so he does a great job, but I mean, that's just, I'm like, dude, I'm too busy working on my business, but, so I see Brock on these trips too. And I just remember calling him right when COVID hit. And I said, unemployment rates are about to skyrocket. I said, if someone has a 215 insurance license and can sell Medicare face-to-face, there's no reason why they can't sell it over the phone. Yep. It's just a different exercise. If you're strong and you can squat, you can lunge too. It's just a different motion, right? I don't know if that's a great analogy, but the point is, if you're good at Medicare sales in person, you're probably going to be good over the phone too. So don't be unemployed waiting COVID out. So that's where him and I said, hey, I'll contribute to a group with you. And then him being my friend held me accountable and said, Bob, we got to charge something for it or you're going to get disinterested. I was like, well, that's not true. Blah, blah. And he's like, because I have a big heart and I want to help everybody. But the reality is I'll get into it and then something else will come up. So his idea to charge for it was really the best thing, because now I first of all, I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things I get to do every week.
But you're obligated.
I'm obligated. And if somebody gives me, I don't care if it's $1, if you're paying to hear me say something, like, I really hope I can bring value. Like, that's my biggest thing with the group is if I'm not bringing value, then, leave the group, But I was talking about it with Brock even today, because we hadn't talked in a while, and I was asking about Cody's event, which was a huge success. I had huge FOMO. Cody invited me and my wife won't let me travel yet, but I definitely want to go to the next one. I heard great things about it. I think overall it's a good thing. I mean, to have access, you know what I mean? Like, and the biggest thing I always tell people is you're going to be unimpressed when you talk with me, but that's a good thing, because that means if I did it, you can do it. I mean, there's, what's the secret? Yeah, I'm pretty smart. Okay. When it comes to technology, like I can teach myself Facebook marketing. I can teach myself Google and Bing marketing. But so can most people if you sit down and spend the time and spend the money. I work my ass off, which most of us do if we're entrepreneurs. So, but it's obtainable. But yeah, so I would say it's a good thing overall. But don't let it stop you from doing, do. But I mean, access, like, if you can grab one thing from what Galen said on Taco Tuesday and apply it to your business, how is that not a good thing?
Absolutely. To take it to your point though, so like there's a few one, I think there's so many people who see successful people like you, Medicare Bob, and I think it gives them analysis paralysis. So I'm a huge fan of networking. I think there's so much you can learn from experts in the industry, but I think one downside of these Facebook groups is agents go in there and they see top producers and then they look at what they can do. And I think they get lost in their head. There's so many agents who get analysis paralysis, and I just want to slap them across the face. And I remember reading everything I could about insurance for like 4 months before I quit my job to get into the industry. And, you gotta just jump in. Like you said, just start doing it, and don't compare yourself. Learn from experts, but don't compare yourself to the expert and say, man, why am I not doing, well, they've been doing this for a decade. So yes, they're going to be way ahead of you.
It's 11 years in, you know what I mean? I started young, I'm only 35, but I got into the business. And even before then I had a mortgage company. So like I'm used to running financial services, and we had essentially a call room, and we generated leads, but we used to fax out back then to get inbound calls. But it was the same practice. So I'm really 20 years in to this type of career. So yeah, but I mean, it's like Brock says all the time, I think, insurance is not a get rich quick scheme, but it is a way to get rich. I mean, it really is. I mean, residual income, when I used to work at Transact, which again, I have nothing bad to say about them. They've always treated me very good, but they paid us, it was an LOA, like how I pay my guys. So I got a lot of money up front. I was making 140 grand a year, doing great, but I'd still be driving to work. I worked the 12 to 9 shift, so I could work West Coast. I'd be driving at 11:30, and I'm seeing people 35 years old on a golf course on a Tuesday. And I'm like, what do they do?
Yep.
And it's residual income. So, but you really only have to try to get 300 customers a year for 3 years. If you can do that, then you're going to do very well. Because, you're going to get to a point where you have 750 customers paying you $25 a month. You can breathe, but I agree with you. Just, if anything, when I meet with people, it's obtainable. Like, I mean, it's hard, but it's obtainable. And I think that's some of the Facebook groups. Brock's a smart guy, right? But I mean, he's not like rocket science smart. Like none of us are that level. Like we can get there, right?
I hope he watches this. You're not a rocket science.
You're not a rocket scientist, right? So what I'm saying? Like there's certain professions that you have like. I'm not going to go work at NASA. Like I'm not smart enough. Like I didn't go to school for that. Like I don't know how to do that. Insurance, if you can talk to people, here's the biggest skill set you need in insurance. And, both of you guys have the skill set, and Glenn, you have it with leads too, is you take something complicated and you simplify it for somebody. Medicare is designed for people to learn on their own, but the reality is nobody wants to spend the weeks it really would take to fully understand Medicare and the options. So that's where we get to be the Medicare expert, and we do spend our time doing that. And then all you're really doing, someone's deciding if they're going to trust what you're saying or not. Do you have credibility? And do they like you, when you're pitching to them? Because it's like going to the gym. No one wants to go, but they're happy when they leave.
Yep.
Yeah.
Christian posts when he's walking to the gym. He posts when he leaves because he's happy he's done.
Yep, pretty much.
And one thing, when you were talking about paid training versus like the free stuff that you can get in these Facebook groups, like again, Christian was talking about, which I thought was a great question, Christian. Again, from like the lead side of the business, you can give leads away for free, or people can pay and buy them. And when the engagement you get and the effort you get when someone pays is so much higher. And so I'm sure in Medicare Monsters, you probably see a lot of the same thing. And you could charge $1, you could charge $10,000, but the level of engagement that you guys are probably getting in that group has to be so much higher than if you were trying to give it all away for free in a Facebook group or on some other platform. So I'm a huge fan of someone buying in and for your level of expertise, absolutely.
We have some serious superstars in that group, man. I mean, some young guys too, like Matt from Springfield, 23, Josh Luddick's 23, he's in Idaho. Wow. We got some good veterans in there. Jerry posted, he's an older guy, but he's very tech savvy, and he's really taught himself a lot of stuff, and he's doing really well. Mark, like but you're right. Like they're paying money. So like, they want to learn something every time they come on. Yeah. But they're all just trying really hard to make it. And so to answer your question, I would have absolutely paid for access to those people. And Eric Ferreira puts out great stuff too. Some of the stuff I've seen is pretty good. Christian, you have a lot of good content. I mean, some of the free content's good too, because there's that model, right, where you pump out free content and then you charge for something else later.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's not the model that I was going after, but that's a good model. Christian, you pump out a lot of free content. If you wanted to, Brock does that, puts out free content, and then here's a bundle course for this amount of money. So I like that better than someone who doesn't ever build credibility and then just says, buy my course. But there's a lot of great stuff out there, man. There's so many good people. And what I like about Medicare space is that everyone's really pretty cool. Like, you know, my best friend and one of my best friends, other than my brother, who I have a twin brother, is Jagger, who owns Medicare FAQ. And people are always so surprised because we're literally right across the street from each other. We compete in every aspect of business. Like, we compete for Google AdWords, we compete for Facebook landscape, we compete for agents that we hire. Like, but at the end of the day, I'm on his boat every other weekend and we're hanging out. And you know, there's only so many people that can relate to what we do every day. And so
he's winning then? It's his boat? So is he winning the battle? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, it's yeah, no, sure. Why not? Hey, the best friend to have is a friend with a boat. Okay. Because yeah, no, he's doing, you know, he's younger than me, man. I think he's 33 and 32.
Wow.
Yeah, they're doing great over there. But I think there's just such a big space out there for us that the competition doesn't have to be so cutthroat, because at the end of the day, there's very few people that ever bring up Medicare Bob on the phone talking to his agents, and there's very few people that ever bring up Medicare FAQ that we talk to. Now, Boom with Benefits, they're everywhere right now, so respect to them.
So I was that just reminded me of something. So like, I did an interview with Galen earlier in the year, and she said that almost the exact same thing. She's like, there's enough business for all of us, no matter how big you get. She's like, I've been doing this a long time. I don't ever recall coming across a Justin Brock customer or a Christian Brindle customer, you know, or a Bobby Beige customer. You know, she threw out several names, and like, that's so crazy to think about, because like, you know, agencies like yours, Bob, that are just ridiculously big in size, you know, and Justin's, and you know, like ours isn't the size of your guys's, but ours is fairly big here in Utah. Like, it's so it's so small in the big picture of things to how many people there are out there, how many fish there are in that sea.
Yep. That's a good space to be in, right? I mean, that's better than it being so competitive that the barrier of entry is impossible. You know, I mean,
so
good.
I was going to say, so 2 agents in the last week, this is very relevant. 2 agents in the last week told me that they thought the Medicare space was getting saturated.
I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this.
I told them straight up, I'm like, I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I'm like, there's 30 million seniors. There's 10,000 turning 65 every day. And the vast majority of agents don't produce or fail out. I'm like, how in the world? I think it's the complete opposite. I think there is such a need for Medicare agents right now that we can't possibly service the number of Medicare beneficiaries that are out there.
Yeah. Like, I think it was Chris Westfall that's put out a video like a year ago that he said this, and he's like, you know, and I think it was on his Medicare agent training platform. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was him that said this. He said, we can't help everybody. Like, meaning his company, it's like, we're not gonna be able to help everybody. So, you know, you as agents, you have to do a good job for people. You know, it's like, we need to all work together to make sure that we're helping solve this problem. And that is this overly confusing government program that nobody understands except for us.
Right. And then you have, you know, I was, so I just hired some agents. It's the first group that I'm training remote. And one of the first things I do when I start going to my educational pitch, and I wonder if I have it saved somewhere, but I just talked about, let me pull this up. Give me 2 seconds, because I think this will be pretty good. I agree with you. And by the way, Chris, have you guys ever met Chris?
I did.
No.
I did a Zoom call with him a few years ago.
Have you met his wife, Nicole?
No.
She is, she's awesome. And she's like the most fun in the world, man. You know, because he's a big guy, and a lot of people in the space are very type A personalities. What's funny about Chris, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he's a great guy, first of all, and he's an ex-cop, but he's not like a normal type A salesman personality. He's more like a recluse, if that's the right word, where like, you know, but it's weird because he's on video a lot. So like, you know, everyone, you get these perceptions of people when you, like, I'm pretty much the same way on video. Like, if you meet me, like, I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, you know, I'm gonna drink, we're gonna have a good time. Like, Chris is on video, and like, you think like you're gonna have this guy that wants to dominate the room. Like, if you put me, Brock, and a few other type A person, we're all gonna compete for just not on purpose, but just we're gonna compete, right?
Right.
You put me, Cody, Brock, and probably a couple of you guys in a room, like, it's gonna be loud and fun and like 5 conversations are happening at the same time. And we all think whatever we're going to say is the most important because, that's just who we are.
Yep.
So, but Chris is not that way. But his wife, on the other hand, is like this super fun, outgoing person. So I did find this. So this was something that I did. So I brought on my new hires, and tell me if you guys agree with this, like a new to Medicare customer mindset. Tell me if you guys agree with this. They're scared. They're anxious, confused, overwhelmed, intimidated, misinformed, and proud.
100%.
Yep.
I don't think you can characterize them better than that.
Capitalize on misinformed stands out really big to me.
I think for me, like the two that stood out the most was overwhelmed, because that's a word that it comes up frequently when I'm working with an aging in person. And then also probably, I think afraid is probably one that might stand out to me that doesn't stand out maybe to everybody, But yeah. I hear a lot of fear when people there was somebody like last month or so in August, and they called our office and they were referred to us, and they were just like, I could hear it in their voice over the phone. They're just like worried about this, they're just like freaked out. And they come into the office, we talk for maybe an hour, do a plan, they walk out, they're just like sigh of relief, it's like.
That's why I love this product. They thank you what other situation when you sell somebody, they're like hugging, like thanking you that this is done. You know what I mean? Like a car, like, okay, but you go buy a car, they're going to be initially excited when they drive off the lot. But like, you go buy a new Porsche, like a week later, you're like, shit, man, I probably paid 10 grand more than I really need.
Why did I do this?
It's verbatim. That's verbatim when I tell everyone about my SUV I have. I'm like, I paid 10 grand more. I literally say that every time.
Yeah. I mean, you love it, but it's like, man, you should have got this a year old and saved.
Yes. I bought a hybrid, and I wish, I'm like, don't buy a hybrid. I bought a hybrid. It was an extra 10 grand, hands down. I tell everybody those exact words.
No, but so we were doing that. So to your point, guys, there's so many people out there. I will say this: private equity is getting into the space. Okay, so opening a call center is going to be very challenging. But I think if you could be a hybrid, like I think Brock's model is going to be very successful, where he's got a local presence and dominates a local market, but then also reaches out to some other states around him. You have to I got in the business, I opened up my agency, I think 8 years ago, and I could buy an exclusive internet lead for $12. Okay. Yeah. Now they're $60 to generate good leads for internet leads. I will not to plug Glenn. I don't even know if Glenn remembers this. I worked with Glenn.
Absolutely, man. You don't forget Medicare Bob. Come on now.
And it was a few years ago, and one of our most successful campaigns. Now, if you're asking why I stopped, it was only because I focused on the digital side instead of the transfers. But so not to plug Lead Heroes because I'm on this group on purpose, but I wouldn't have brought it up. But we did really well with his group, and so give them a try. And not to give you a plug, but there's a plug. I mean, I wouldn't have said it.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, we really did. Now we did something a little bit different. We did what's called zombie leads. I don't know if you remember, but what I did with Glenn is leads that were like 10 days older in my system. So when you only I had 8 agents at the time, so you have a choice to make when you have 8 agents. Do you buy new leads or do you work your leads to death? Do you buy new leads or do you work your leads to death? If you work your leads to death, that's fine. But you got every day a leads and older, the conversion rate does drop.
Yep.
Okay. Either they don't answer the phone or they talk to somebody else. Your contact rate drops, all that stuff. So what we did with Glenn was once a lead got like 10 or 11 days old, I would send data to him, have his group call the lead, and then if he contacted them, transfer it back to our agent. That way I didn't have to pay a licensed agent to call, I didn't want to pay my guy $15 an hour plus $100 a sale to dial.
Burnout too, man. You don't want them to burn out on getting screamed at, right?
Exactly. So your people, they got probably told to screw off a couple of times because some of those leads are 100 days old, right? but that doesn't affect our agents. All our agents got was the warm transfer. So that was very, very successful, and definitely something that I'll probably do again after this AEP. Because I'm going to get to a situation where I have like 30 agents, and I'm going to be in the same boat that I was in 8, where I want to keep replenishing leads, because I've gotten a little bit better on lead gen. But to y'all's point, I think it's a great space to be in. You know, I had young kids, but I feel like if my kid was 18 right now, so Thea, who's in Medicare Monsters, she's one of my really good friends in the industry. She brought her 2 kids down a couple weeks ago, and we hung out, and her son's like 19 or 20, and her daughter's thinking about dropping out of college. She's like 21 or 20 or something like that. And I'm like, you know, the dad in me is like, don't drop out of school, like finish school. Right. But the other part of me is like, what would I tell my 18-year-old? Like, go build a book of business and make money.
I know what I'd tell them.
Yeah, same.
You know, I mean, now hopefully I'm going to be paid enough that they can go do their 4 years at some thing, and then they can come back and do that. But even that is like, you know, so it's a great industry to be in. But I do believe private equity, full circle, is driving up some of the internet lead costs, which what I'm trying to do, I think FMOs are really good at products, but I don't think they're great at teaching people how to sell. I think there's an opportunity for an FMO to really step up if they can fulfill 3 needs. So I want y'all's input on this.
Yeah.
Here's where I think agents struggle. Actually selling the product, not learning what a Plan G does, but how do you sell it? Okay. Capital is always a barrier of entry, and leads. So I think if an FMO can come out and provide those 3 things, capital can be a large advance. Leads, I don't think buying leads. I think if you're buying leads, you know, there's smart ways to do it, but you're competing with people like Transact and Spring and Select. Like, they're really, really smart people that have filters and income and credit and stuff like that. And so if you're buying internet leads, you know, you're only going to get the leads they said no to, right? Because it, you know, and to your point, Glenn, earlier, you're talking about cheap leads. Like, I see these advertisements of $5 Facebook leads, and I almost want to flick them off, because I'm like, come on. Like, I'm pretty good at Facebook marketing, and my lead price is like $28 to $35, depending on the day. Right. You know, now I'm trying to generate 300 a day. If I was only trying to generate maybe 30 a day, it might be less, but it ain't gonna be $12.
Right.
So it's like, cheap leads aren't, you know, now if you're just starting out, yes, buy data, buy age leads and just activity, but like, you got to find a source that's giving you contacts and giving you a real opportunity. So my point is I would like to, first quarter of next year, maybe if I decide to do it, was a solution with like lease my marketing team to agents. It's your money. Yeah. But we'll build you your Facebook campaigns. You brand you, we'll build you your Google and Bing stuff. It's all your money, but we've done millions of dollars of experience at this. So we're going to save you that time and money, because most people starting out don't have a couple $100,000 to build a marketing team.
Oh yeah.
Right.
But 100%. They have a couple grand a month to lease one, as long as it's working. So anyway, I think it's to be in. I don't think it's oversaturated, but I do believe you got to be creative on how you generate business, because it's going to continue to get more expensive if you're depending on buying internet leads. That's my
so
yeah, I agree.
Just to recap your 3. So training, leads, what was the third one again? Capital. Yes. Capital. Okay. Capital. So of those 3, the one that really stands out to me is training. Coming into the industry, and like at this point now, I've worked with so many different IMOs and FMOs, and some of these just massive companies that have tens of thousands of agents, and they will have 0 training.
I agree.
And that's what blows my mind. I'm like, you need these agents to convert. So, I mean, there's leads everywhere. You can generate your own. You can buy them from lead vendors. You know, money, obviously there's some different ways, your own money, someone else's money, whatever. But when it comes to the training, I think that's one of the things. And again, plug for Medicare Monsters, you guys. It's crazy to me that the lack of training in the industry. And I'm disappointed. And I'd say probably 90% of these IMOs, FMOs that do very little training. And like you said, it's not just educating an agent on what a product is. They have to, you know, sell this. They have to close. They have to, you know, inform the client and, you know, like you talked about with what's going on in their head, you know, they have to jump all of these hurdles. They're scared. They've been misinformed. And I think that's one of the biggest holes in the industry. So, props to both of you, Christian, you as well, for your training content. I don't think there will ever be enough. That's another thing where I've heard people say like, oh, there's too much training. I'm like, there will never be enough insurance training content.
I think, and one of the interesting ones that jumps out to me, those three though, is capital. Because one thing that, and I know it's probably not the exact type of capital that you're talking about, but one thing that's been so helpful for our new agents is like, so I think any FMO that falls under that integrity marketing brand has ability to to do a lot more co-op than maybe another FMO for new agents. What I mean by that is like this upcoming AEP, we've brought on a lot of new agents this year, a lot of rookie agents. I think we're going to stop that because it's very exhausting. But anyway, like we've contracted a lot of agents in a lot of different markets. And one thing that I think is really a game changer for them that I didn't have when I started was, they're willing to basically do a 50-50 co-op. And there's limits to the money, but like, I think we did for example, we did for about 10 or 11 agents. It was like a $20,000 co-op where that group put up 10 and it was like all of them doing a different amount, like one agent would do 500, another agent would do 1,000, another agent would do 250 or whatever. One agent would do 2,000 if they, something like that. But the FMO stepped up to the plate and they delivered their 10,000. And then the FMO calls me the other day and they're like, hey, we got another 2,000 if you want it.
Yes,
and I'm
please.
I'm like, I think we can find some place for that.
Send
I'm like,
it over here.
so like but to me, I feel like, cause we've been with this FMO a long time. It's not like we just started with them. Last year, they weren't able to do that. And in December, they got bought by
Money's
Integrity.
coming from Advantage plans. Am I wrong? Like Advantage plans are the ones that your co-op dollars are coming from.
Yeah.
Or am I wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
macro level Advantage plan, when you it's a private alternative to Medicare. It's not to be political, but it's a Republican program. It's a private, the whole idea behind Advantage is Humana goes to the government and says, it's costing you $2,000 to insure a 65-year-old here. We can do it for $1,200. So pay us $1,500 and we can do it better. But they have the loss ratios. So they're actually doing too good of a job. So they got to pump this money back out to you guys. And you have a Republican Senate. So you're seeing dereg in the regulation. The things that are said on TV right now could not have been said 5 years ago about Medicare.
Right.
You just see it So yeah, Medicare. And I think you're going to have a really big 3-year run on a lot of even private equity and stuff of going after these MAs. And I'm interested to see what happens. I'm still a big med sup guy. I offer both, but we do a lot of med sup and, but yeah, I think the co-op money, I didn't have that when I started. That'd be great.
But I think like, I guess my point behind that is like, it seems to me that the FMOs that are doing a lot of that are the FMOs that got bought out by Integrity. I think they just are backed by this gigantic organization in Integrity that's just, giving them more resources. And so I'm wondering, I think that's kind of interesting. I think Integrity could potentially be that organization, that kind of fits all three of those needs. I don't know what you guys think about that, but.
Yeah,
possibly. Yeah. I've seen some good training content from them. Not a ton, but I haven't really deep dived them. I have a question about the private equity thing though. So I had an agency owner who told me he was getting some crazy valuations on his book of business, numbers that I had never heard of before. And I kind of thought it was just bullshit when he was telling me, but I'm wondering if because private equity is getting more into this space, are you seeing a lot of that, Medicare Bob, where like really high valuations on BOBs?
So, okay. So I'll try to, all right.
I like that question. Though. I like that question.
Yeah, no, it's a great
question by Glenn.
So this is my perspective on it. So what you have right now is you have a low interest rate environment. So this is next level stuff. Okay. So going back to your marketing budget. Okay. And then I'll tie this in. So if you're an agent and you're starting off, you have to look at what is your lifetime value of a customer. If your lifetime value of a customer on a Medicare policy, say you're doing 50% Medicare Advantage, 50% Medicare supplement coverage, ancillaries and stuff, med subs are usually valued about $1,500, Medicare Advantage closer to about $1,000. So say your lifetime value of a customer is $1,200. So if the lifetime value of a customer is $1,200, private equity, if they will spend $1,000. If you're spending $1,000 to get a customer, that's over a 20% return on your money.
Right.
Well, we're in a low income or low interest rate environment right now. I have money. I have nowhere to put it other than back in my business, because bonds are paying under 1%.
Right.
The stock market is artificially inflated right now. And that's why, because there's nowhere to put your money. So these private equity, I'm involved in some private equity that I contribute to, because they'll go and to your evaluations. So there's two things that contribute to these evaluations. A low interest rate environment means they can pay higher multiples. So here's why.
Money's cheaper for them to borrow, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they can pay higher multiples, because if somebody pays a 15 times multiple, which is unheard of in real life, but it's happening right now. Okay?
Right.
If you take 15, that's a 7.5% return on your money. Okay, because you divide it by 100. So that's a 7.5% return. Where safely right now, if you have money, can you get a 7.5% return? By the way, if you hold it longer than 12 months, it's capital gain. So it's a 20% tax rate. So you have a low interest rate environment, low capital gains tax rate. Okay, it's 20%, lowest it's been in years. So as an investor, you're encouraged to invest, right? You're also getting these crazy evaluations because of something called 606 accounting. You guys familiar with that?
No.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay,
So that's over my head.
I need to get my notebook out, I feel like, before this goes any further. So really taking notes.
This is pretty straightforward. So there's 605 cash accounting, which is what you guys probably do.
Right.
So Christian, when your office sells a policy, and let's say you're getting a standard 12-month advance, $300 nets up. You and your accountant are putting $300 on your books, right? Like, because that's the money that came in.
Right.
You're doing cash accounting. You can Google 606 accounting. It's accepted by GAAP as of a few years ago. Generally accepted accounting principles. At 606, Christian, when you collect that $300 on your P&L, instead of you putting $300 down, if it's a MedSup policy, you can put $1,500 down.
Because that's your expected lifetime value return.
Because that's your expected lifetime value.
But then can you count the renewal? You can't count the renewal then, right?
You can't count the renewals. You can't count it
the
twice.
following year. Yeah.
Yep. But to borrow money, like Spring,
Gotcha.
at dirt cheap money, they'll spend $1,000 or $1,200 to get a customer. It's worth $1,500, so they're profitable.
Right.
Not cash flow.
Right.
They'll go borrow money at less than 1% or 1%. Yep.
But their valuation.
Because it's increasing their valuation.
Seems like there could be a dangerous middle there. If you overinflate, your renewals, if you're saying you have all of this money up front, I guess.
So what some of the bigger guys do is they use CSG, and they'll do a monthly feed of their book. So like eHealth, okay, publicly traded company. So you can go listen to their 10 Qs or whatever they're called.
10K, 10Q.
10K. Yeah, do you guys ever do that? If you ever
I have not.
Go to Yahoo Finance, go to eHealth, and just listen to the conversations that they have to have with their shareholders, because they're a publicly traded company.
Right.
And they tell you everything in those.
Yep. Now,
Everything
be careful with their evaluation of a Medicare policy, because they don't include rewrites and stuff, and they have an active group to rewrite their customers, and they count that as a new policy because they're well, I can't speak for them, but they're manipulating. They're a CPA. So in my opinion, so they're using the CPA to there's pros and cons to all of it. Okay.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't help your cash flow, but it helps your valuation, which can help you raise money, whether you're selling equity, because what that does to your EBITDA number is it inflates your EBITDA.
Right.
Well, EBITDA is what private equity groups base your valuation on. So you can go sell 20% of your company. Let's say you're really $1 million EBITDA cash company, Christian, but let's say you switch to 606 accounting and now you're 2.5 million. And let's say you got a 10 times multiple on your business and evaluation. Your valuation just went from 10 million to 25 million. So now you sell 20% of your company and raise $5 million instead of raising 200,000. How much faster can you grow with $5 million?
Yeah.
Crazy amounts faster. Like it's not even comparable.
Yep.
So that's a 2-minute explanation of why you're seeing some of these crazy evaluations.
Wow.
Literally, you explained that perfectly. That makes perfect sense. And again, on the marketing side of the business, I'm always looking at lifetime value. And when I'm talking,
you can justify people's cost per acquisition, right?
Yeah,
like for you,
exactly. Yeah.
100%. Like marketing people come to me and say, what's your marketing budget? And that's the worst question you could ever ask me.
Right.
Because Glenn, if you came to me and said, you have something that never works, I don't even want to give you $1.
Right.
If you come with me that says, hey, you should convert at 10% here, then I can work my numbers and say, okay, I want to spend $100,000 with you, and let's go to work and let me convert at 10%. I can turn that $100,000 at a 10% conversion. I can turn that into profit. And so like my target CPA, my target cost per acquisition on the media side, I can figure that out. But yes, so the higher that you are worth, if you can value a policy, so that's why it's hard to buy internet leads, because these big guys are spending $50 to $60, $70 a lead.
Right.
It converts at 10%. If you're a normal person that's buying internet leads and you're paying $60 for a lead and you convert at 10%, that's a $600 lead CPA.
Right.
If you're only getting $300 on average per deal, your negative cash flow on that deal is $300. If you're trying to do 30 deals a month at negative $300, that's negative $9,000, and you haven't even paid yourself yet.
Yeah, exactly. The little guy gets swallowed. And that's the thing. If someone's coming in and they're paying more than the first year commission to get that client, how is an independent agent supposed to come in when they're supposed to feed themselves, plus they're paying for marketing, plus other business expenses? It makes it almost impossible. I mean, that's what kept me out of the Medicare market initially as an agent. I needed the life insurance income up front, because I didn't have the money to get into. I wish I did at the time. Probably be fighting with Medicare Bob.
The moral of this story, my friends, is
accounting. Study accounting. That's what I was gonna say.
No. The moral of the story is get in when you're 20, like Christian, and have no bills, no expenses, no debt, no nothing, and you're gonna be okay.
Yes.
That is another. Put it all back. I mean, you just got to keep putting it in, and that's not to discourage you guys. It's if anything, it's such a great space to be in that the people that are really, really smart in the world are getting into it. Like, there's, the people that are lobbyists that are sitting with people in DC, they're connected and they're buying into this space. So it's a great space to be in. But I do think that like what you're doing, Christian, is that you have a local presence, right? You said people come in your office sometimes.
Yeah.
I think having like a hybrid office is very attractive because I think that you can do both. And I think that there's certain customers that want to come in. Now, I can tell you, I would like to think that if I was a local agent, I would try to cross-sell annuities, life insurance. I would try to make that customer worth even more money, because tell me if I'm wrong, when you make a sale on the phone, it takes you maybe 45 minutes at max, an hour to do a customer. But when they come in person, it just seems to take 2 hours, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's so true. Like because they're more chatty. They're more chatty when they're in person because they're looking at you in your face. You're trying to impress them. You're giving them a really bad smile, like
I would run out of your office if you smiled at me like that.
I could just picture it too, like Glenn coming in and being like, "Hello." I'm like,
"Hey, come here! It's Medicare time.
Get on back here, you."
Aren't you the guy that owns Amazon? No.
Oh shit, that's funny.
So yeah, crazy evaluation, still a great space to be in, but you just gotta, you gotta work and you gotta, but there's, look, I hope I wasn't discouraging people from getting in the space.
No, not at all. I thought that was super enlightening. I really did. That totally helped. Again, I was seeing some of that, and I feel like you kind of pulled the curtain back for me.
It happened to me. I mean, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, how is Integrity buying all these people at this? They don't always disclose how much it is, but you hear from people if you have friends, okay. So it's like, how are they doing that? And then you just kind of, and then I've been approached obviously by some things. So then I just had the conversations, and I remember I was talking to someone, they go, "Oh, you're doing cash accounting?" I'm like, "Yeah, how else do you do accounting?" Money comes in, money goes out, right? And but they, it's a good space to be in. But like, if I had to, I would cold call. Or I would work with like you, Glenn, and do transfers, and try to get some transfers on the phone and grind. Look, when you first, and I think Brock says this, and I hate giving him too much credit and name dropping him all the time because I want to punch him in the face half the time because I actually really do like him. But I think he says all the time, in life, you have time or you have money. And when you first start off, you have time and you don't have money. When you get to a certain level, you have money, but then your time is like literally, I mean, not to sound, my whole day was booked today, like that's just how it happens, And so when you first start out and you have time, like there's no excuse, like go to Walgreens, go to pharmacies, go to door knock, cold call, spend 6 hours a day trying to get a transfer from Lead Heroes or from another person. Like to your point, there's do direct mail, find ways, do a co-op, find a realtor in your area that's mailing out and say, look, I'll pay half the cost if I can get the back of your flyer.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, there's tons of ways to generate business, and you should be doing that. But to your point, just do. Like I love the guys I see in some of your groups that have the shirts that say, ask me about Medicare, or wear a hat that says, ask at Medicare. Like, I love that. Everywhere you're going, you're your own billboard. Yeah, I love that.
Shout out Chris Weir.
Lead Concepts.
Yeah, he sent that awesome to us. That was very nice of him. But no, I agree completely. Like when I started, I wasn't dropping a ton of money on leads or spending a bunch of money. I didn't have any money. Like I was cold calling. Like that's what we were doing.
And it sucks.
It's horrible.
It sucks.
It sucks. But you're making $100,000 a year now, aren't you?
Well over that, yeah.
Right. Well, but you're probably $100,000 of your income is probably from the cold calls you did 3 years ago.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like I was talking to another new agent of ours a couple of days ago, and I was telling her, I was like, she was basically complaining about lead costs because she was talking about how to generate business, and I told her, I'm like, have you ever thought about cold calling? And she's like, oh, she was like, oh, I don't want to do, like almost like that's beneath me kind of response. And I'm just told her, I'm like, I did it for 3 years, every week.
I would literally say to that person, so I said this in the Medicare Monster Group when we first got going, and we talked about activity and cold calling and stuff. Do you want to be a millionaire? Do you want to be a millionaire? Like, and how bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it? Yep, that's exactly right.
Because where else can you get a license after 1 week of going to school and taking a test 2 or 3 times? Because very few people pass on the first try. But my point is where else can you get a license in a week? And if you say, I can cold call for 3 years, just 3 years, tell yourself 3 years, even if you do it 10 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, give yourself that 3-day weekend. Well, I would dial on Saturdays, so work that out. But if I'm going to cold call for 3 years, I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to cold call. I'm going to go to pharmacists. Nobody wants to do drug plans. I will. Give me your drug plan.
Yep.
Like, where can you go? Because I'm telling you, if you can just get 300 clients a year, you will be rich in 3 years. You'll be rich because you're going to have
totally agree.
100 people, 700 of them are going to stay on the books easily, probably more. So 700 times $25 is more math than I can do after 3 margaritas. But I know it's enough that you're going to make money. The best part about Medicare policies is they keep paying you. I mean, that's the absolute best part. And I also teach this in the group. The longer you can delay your gratification, the more money you're going to make, the bigger boat you're going to get. So you said who's winning?
That's right.
Yeah.
You're going to have the yacht, man. He got the playbook. Yeah. You're rolling out in the yacht next year, brother.
Oh, man.
606 accounting all the way. Let's go.
No, but it's a great space to be in, and everyone is so helpful. And I think the groups and the access is amazing. And you hear people, and everyone's kind of smart, but nobody's that smart where you can't do it.
Sure.
Like as long as you can talk and walk and chew gum, talk and chew gum. I think that's what I meant. But
can you do all 3 at once? I don't know if I can.
Yeah, exactly. So we're right about the hour, and I have probably 20 more questions I could ask you, but one specifically that you mentioned, that I wanted to ask you. We talked to Galen last week, and she's so great about cross-selling and offering other products. And you mentioned a minute ago talking about, driving up that lifetime client value by selling them other products, and you mentioned annuities. I mean, in your business, what do you guys focus on when it comes to cross-selling? What do you feel like is some of the best policies to cross-sell?
So Galen is my Medicare mom. So she's been begging me to get better at cross-selling since I've known her, and she's great at it. And Brock is better at, to answer your question, we're bad at it, Glenn. We're bad at it. Part of it is we rode the Facebook wave for a couple of years.
Right.
We're less on Facebook now than we were. But during the Facebook wave, we helped a lot of people go from F to G. And maybe it's just an excuse that I bought into, but someone's 73 and they're going from F to G. It's a little bit challenging we try to sell dental. We're bad at it. We're just bad at it, to be honest with you. Now we are getting better now that we have done more open enrollment business the past 4 months because of COVID than we've ever done in our lives. We're normally we're very rare for a call center, which is why carriers love us, because we're normally about 65% underwritten.
Wow.
A couple years ago when Cigna had the best rates, and I was personally the top producer, our agency was the top 4 producer, we were 67% underwritten. That's unheard of for call centers.
Yeah, they must have loved you.
They love that business.
Yeah,
right?
They must have loved you.
Yep. And so, so that's an excuse. But we're doing more. We're getting better. The excuse is we didn't sell dental to them because we we would bring it up and they'd be like, "I'm 73. Like I already got that figured out," or "I don't want dental. I got to wait 3 years for it to do stuff." So we're bad at it. But we've gotten better at it. Part of it's we're doing more. Now we're 75% open enrollment the last 4 months. We've done really well with helping people sign up for Medicare Part B. And then because I don't know if you guys know this. So there's 2 forms if someone deferred Part B, they have to get filled out. Mm-hmm. 40B and the L564 form. Normally the employer has to fill out that L564 form. Because of COVID, the government waived that requirement. Now you can fill out the L564 form for the customer, and they just have to give you proof that they have coverage. So like a pay stub or a W-2.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
I've been doing it the old school way this whole time.
Yeah, if you go to Social Security, you don't have to wait. So if somebody is coming off of Medicare Part B, because a lot of people, I know you guys are active in helping people. I'm helping a lot of people that are like, hey, it's not safe for me to go to work, or I lost my job. A lot of people from Delta that we helped with this.
Yeah.
A lot of people. And so I know you guys, so what you get, like a lot of agents are just telling them, well, you got to get your Part B and then call us back. Well, when we talk to them, we help them get it right then and there.
Wow.
We have a DocuSign template where they do the form 40B done. We fill out the L564 form. They take a picture on their iPhone or smartphone, because almost all of them have some type of tablet or phone, of their pay stub. They email it to the agent. The agent sends all 3 of those things to our support staff, and they get their Part B in 2 weeks. And they're done. And by the way, by you being willing to do that.
Yeah, you locked up that. Yeah, that policies. No one else is getting that policy. Yeah, that's
right.
Done.
So we are doing better with dental, vision, hearing. Cross sell during lock-in. We sell a lot of the Heartland Cancer and Hospital Plan. We call it a Medicare Advantage supplemental plan. Before the trolls come, it's tiptoeing compliance. I'm not calling it. I'm calling it a supplemental plan.
That's what it. I mean, that's really what it is.
So the 2 biggest holes in Medicare Advantage are hospital and cancer. Heartland has crazy commission on this product. So I pay the agent $200 to sell it, as long as the premium's over $50 a month. And if you do a $10,000 cancer policy and a $300 a day benefit, you're normally about that $50 a month. Again, people with Advantage plans often don't want to pay $50 a month for that, but we do about 700 Medigap policies and Advantage plan policies a month. So we probably sell 50 or 60 of those. I mean, it's not, and that's with 12 reps, by the way, last month.
Wow, that's insane. That is crazy.
Every agent we averaged over 50 last month. Is one of our best months, and it's partly because of the Part B stuff. So I got 8 more agents starting that I've been training the last couple of weeks. Training's taking longer remote.
That's probably almost double the average agent production that I hear of from call center.
Oh, dude, you'll be lucky in a call center if an agent does 20, 25.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, so you're at like 200, 250%, dude. That's incredible.
Well, it's not normally we average 38 a person, so we're normally better. But I also overbuy leads and I overpay agents. Overpay your agents. Yeah. Turnover is way expensive. If you go to my website, man, I have agents that have been with me for 6 years. They make 80 to 130 grand a year. They have no worries. All their licensing's paid, E&O. They have leads every time they come in and click the button green, and overpay them. I pay their health insurance 100%, so I don't pay renewals. But what I do also So if you ever go to sell your business, you got to be careful with renewals if you're going to pay them to your agents, because that's actually debt on your books. So just with you guys, you're better off overpaying an agent up front than paying them. I know renewals are nice because they're golden handcuffs. I get that. But if you're doing LOAs, so you have career side and LOA. In my opinion, if somebody can make 30 grand a year and build a renewal book, they're probably better off in the career side. Most people that I talk to need to make 60 to 80 grand a year now. That's an LOA.
Yep.
And I'm very straight up with them. If you want to go career, I'll help you, but you're not gonna make any money for 2 or 3 years. But if you need to make 60 to 80 grand, you can do that now. You'll never get wealthy as an LOA, but you can make a really good living and have a good job. So you can be very transparent. Because, you know, you see some of these groups, people say LOAs are bad deals. Screw you, it's not. My LOAs are very happy. So what I was getting to is I don't pay renewals anymore. So what I did is after 90 days, I pay half their health insurance. After a year, I pay all their health insurance. After 2 years, I pay their whole family's health insurance. Why? Because instead of giving them a raise, I'm giving them benefits that are tax deductible and lower my taxable income for the company. So instead of me giving them a $3 more raise and then both of us paying taxes on the $3 an hour, here's your benefits. So there's things like that you can be smart on your books that are win-wins. And if you have an employee that's, you know, been with you for over 2 years, their health insurance is free for them and their family. They're making 90 grand a year and they're not going to go anywhere, you know? So
I mean, if you talked to me a year ago, I probably would have had one of those negative perceptions of LOA agents, but I've changed my view on it, like almost, all the way for the most part, because of people like you and Justin and that have, like your guys' agents probably make more than almost, probably 90% of our downline agents, you know what I mean? And it's crazy because it's because they get linked up with a good organization like you.
Right. It's a transparency issue. Yeah. It's the companies out there, the LOA agents that don't explain things to them, or, smoke and mirrors. And so, there's a few bad apples that I feel like give the LOA a bad name. Yeah. But I think that, again, the way you explain that right there is perfectly on point. If you need money today, then you do need to be an LOA agent. Because just like I said, when I first got in, I didn't have the money to sell Medicare. Yeah. I couldn't have lived on selling 20 Medicare policies a month. I had a family to feed. There was no way. So yeah, it's just all about transparency, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing too, just to give anybody that's looking for a job, if you ever get a sales job, always look at the sales board. So when I left Transact, I was being recruited by other agencies before I opened my own. And they're like, you're a superstar, you're going to come in. If you do 75 a month, like you're doing at Transact, you're going to make this. And it was more money. And I was like, I almost took one. It's a place I'm not going to mention, but I was like, all right, cool. And as I'm walking out, I'm looking, and the top agent, it's like the 26th of the month. The top agent had like 11 sales out of 30 agents. I looked and I was like, I'm good. But I'm not 7 times better than your top agent. So no matter how good you are, you're probably only going to be 120% better than the top agent that's already there. Right. So if anyone's watching this and you're looking at an LOA job, and someone's like, oh yeah, if you come and do 50 sales a month, you're going to make this. Okay, how many agents do you have right now that are doing 50 a month? That's a good follow-up question. Like, how many, and then can I see the board? And do you have W-2s of people? Like when I hire people, I have W-2s that I black out the people and I show them, here's the 2019 W-2 for Dave Minaya. Here's not Dave Minaya, sorry, can't say names, but people that, here's so-and-so's, here's a W-2, someone who works here. Here's another one. Here's another one. And when I recruit, I always tell them the bare minimum here is 30 sales a month. And here's what you make at that. Now I have people making this, but that's because I'm going to see you in 2 months from now. Like, I don't want to recruit you because you're going to make all. Now you might come in and be as good as him, but so far he's been the best I found in 8 years. So I doubt you're him. Great if you are. The money could be there, but yeah, I think it's just transparency, like you said, man. Just in life, expectations.
100%, man. I totally agree. Christian, I think now is probably a good time to wrap up. Any final thoughts that you want to share, brother?
Well, I don't have any super enlightening, things to say like I normally would, but
it's hard after hearing.
But what I do have to say is like, I would just say thank you to you, Bob. I mean, for taking the time to come on here. I mean, I remember I guess my final thought would be this, like the first time that I was going to talk to you was when we did our interview this year. And I'd never talked to you before that. And I remember like leading up to it, I was a little bit like nervous about it because I was like, I never know how it's going to go, you know, with, and you were just so cool and so, you know, giving with your time, just like you were today. And just shout out to you for that, for being just a great person and great, you know, resource for the industry. And thank you for that. I appreciate it.
No, I totally agree.
I don't even know what we talked about today, but I had a good time.
Get this man some more margaritas.
So where do you live at, Glenn? Aren't you in Oregon?
I'm just across the river. I'm technically in Washington.
So game 7 tonight, Utah and Denver. 2 questions. 1, who plays better, D. Mitchell or Murray? Which, by the way, I love because
Donovan.
it's Kentucky versus Louisville.
Donovan.
Okay, well, you're a homer, so I get that. So that's who picked, Donovan. And then who wins the game, man? Denver or Utah? Which, by the way, is not a good call for the Clippers. I would not want to play either one of those teams.
You know, it's hard for me to talk sports with you, Bob, because the Cardinals. I'm wearing a Seattle hat here, but really my team is the Arizona Cardinals. And you took my coach, and then you've got Brady down there, and then Gronk came out of retirement. Oh, are you wearing? Oh, see, I didn't even see that. See,
I am. I have a suite there. I am.
I know. I've seen your pictures, man. I've seen you posted on there, and dude. I'm so jealous.
I told my kids we were bad, and I have almost 10-year-old boys, and they're just the best. I'm blessed because I talk to people who have kids, and sometimes their kids don't have the same interests as them, which you still love your kids, but it might be harder to connect, and you got to go to them.
Sure.
Luckily for me, my kids are literally into everything I'm into, which is video games and sports.
There you go.
That's me. My Friday night is me drinking, playing NBA or Madden with my kids.
Love it.
They're not drinking yet, but so they I can go off on a tangent. Video games, I think, are the reason I'm pretty good with technology, but later. That's for another Taco Tuesday or something. But so I told my kids every time, and look, we left last year and last couple of years. You know how many games we lost by a missed field goal, or like the Giants rookie quarterback doing a quarterback draw, and a touchdown, like when we were up by 6. Like, so, you know, they're crying, physically crying as we're leaving. I hate the Bucks. We suck. And I go, no. You are a fan when we're bad.
Stop it.
Yes.
So when we're good, you've earned it.
Yes.
So this is their reward. Although, of course, when the Bucks get Tom Brady, the whole world goes.
Yeah. I'm like, we'll see if the season even happens. But
Tom Brady doesn't have to be tested. Did you guys ever see the movie Ted? You know, Tom Brady's
yes.
He doesn't get tested. I'm sure it's all good.
He's like, what are you doing in my house? Like, hold still, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's blood is the cure to Corona. So if we could just get that out there.
I believe that. I would take that vaccine without even asking questions. My kids, please.
Right, can I drink it? I'm
going to pick Denver, Christian, just to talk shit to you in case I actually
I'm with Denver too.
I think Joker's due for a big game. I think Murray's carried him so far in the playoffs. If Joker would stop drinking beer before the games, I think that he would have a better game.
Here's the thing.
If your only job is to be in shape, like that is your only job. I mean, he looks like a good time. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, I want to hang with the guy, and I know he can outdrink me, but like, you have one job, which is not to be fat. Like,
so here's the thing. If I had to put my life on the line on the game, I think I'd pick Denver too, because they got so much depth. I don't think Gobert can really guard Joker out on the perimeter. I just don't think it's a good matchup for Gobert, although he's had some good games in the season.
Like that you said that. So one of the reasons Murray is having his way is because Joker's keeping Gobert
away from the basket,
three-point line. So then it's freeing up the lane in mid-range for Murray. So a lot of people don't realize that. But even though Joker's not averaging 30 a game, by him being that stretch center, he's taking out the shot blocker, and Murray and other players can go to the rim. So I see your basketball IQ, Christian. I like that.
I'm a big fan.
I've been busy watching the Blazers get blown out by the Lakers. So unfortunately,
I'm kind of low key like okay, when I was growing up, I was a big Laker fan. I loved Kobe Bryant. He was my favorite basketball player. And I still like follow them really closely, and I still kind of root for them a little bit. But like, I hated LeBron when I was growing up because my friends always said that he was better than Kobe. And I was like, how dare you? So it's been kind of weird for me the last few years. You know what I mean? Like seeing him in that uniform. But I don't hate him now, but like, it's just, I don't know, childhood stuff. I got to go to the therapist or something.
Yeah, you do.
I'm a Laker and a Magic fan because I grew up in Orlando. But so Shaq, went to one team to the other, but no, but LeBron, I mean, look, all right, well, we could talk, now we're talking sports, so this could be like 4 hours.
This is a whole nother.
I get it. I hate about sports is like, who's like, I tell, because, now I have a 10-year-old who thinks he knows everything about sports. And, he says so-and-so is better. And I'm like, once you're talking Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, like, it doesn't matter.
They're all good. They're all really good.
Yeah. So, but, all right. So stay in the Medicare space, work hard. And I enjoyed this, guys. Thanks so much.
Hey, well,
thank you. I always go along with you, Christian. So
No, again, I really appreciate your time coming on, Bobby. And, my final thought would really be like one of my favorite things you said during this conversation was just do. And I'm just a huge believer of that. Like, again, as an entrepreneur, I just think you have to make messes sometimes and just kind of jump in head first. And any agents who make it all the way to the end of this, that's really what I would say is just do it.
So
Get it.
I agree.
My final thought, failure is financing your education.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Oh, Jinx.
Double
So
Jinx.
that's the thing. So when you fail,
Coke's in the mail.
If you try Facebook and it fails, what did you learn? Try it again and do better. If you try Google, try it again. If you do a pitch on the phone and it sucked, try again. And it just takes time and money to fail fast, and then fail at financing is your future. So there's my fortune cookie.
I love it.
Well, I love it.
I love it.
Love it. Well, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll wrap this thing up. If you made it all the way to the end here, you're a rock star, and we love you.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, until next time.
If you made it all the way to the end, the code word is blue.
Blue, yeah.
Christian is going to send you a button from Lead Concepts.
Oh, man.
Free tacos for life.
I'll buy the button. So Lead Concepts can send me the bill. All right. So it's the code word is taco blue.
Taco blue or blue tacos in the comments. That's I want to see it.
Taco blue.
Lead Concepts. I'll give you my Amex. I'll pay for it, and we send it out.
Tag Chris Weir in the comments.
I love it.
Cheers. Thanks so much, man.
Hey, thanks, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Bye, guys.